Hello, this is Cylinder Radio. My name is Will Roosh, and about a year ago, I launched this podcast with the intention of highlighting different perspectives on controversial issues to try and find a deeper truth. About 8 months before I launched this podcast, I started a social media account on Instagram. Instagram being the social media platform most used by both educators, teachers, and young people. So I started that and putting my classroom essentially online. My wife is an online marketing business owner, an entrepreneur, and I would come home and tell her about exciting things I was doing in the classroom and talking about, and she kept saying, well, put it out there and expand your classroom. So I finally did, and was putting ideas out there, and then started this podcast. So this podcast has been very structured in that I've always had a guest. There's a guest that I vetted to some degree and was an expert in some field, and then we would talk about an issue and try to highlight some lesser known elements of that controversial issue. Well, this episode is going to be different, and I'm doing this kind of on a whim. Yesterday, Eric Weinstein reached out to me and we talked for a bit, and he was very encouraging about what I'm doing and essentially gave me some advice that I should double and triple down on what I'm doing and essentially be bold and not hold back at all and be unapologetic and force my perspective and my ideas into the conversation, so to speak. And coming from someone that I respect greatly, that resonated. My wife has been saying that for a while, but sometimes we don't always listen to the ones that are closest to us because there's so much bias there. But I'm trying something a little different, and what this is I was in the car coming back. My wife and I just went to the beach just to watch the sunset to celebrate something that was going on with her business. And on the way back, I decided to just go on a rant, and she recorded it, and I'm putting it out here because it's essentially some of the big ideas that I've been playing around in my mind. So this is a little glimpse into what is going on in my head, and I wanted to share it because as uncomfortable as it is for me to share this kind of stuff, it's not going to be for everyone. This is a little strange, but this is where my brain is right now at this point in my life, and I'm going to take the advice of someone I respect, and of several people I respect, I should say, and put it out there. So I don't know what could come from this, but I just wanted to put it out there and see if it resonates with anyone that likes these ideas and want to discuss them. Also, by putting my ideas out there, I leave them up to criticism. I embrace criticism. I embrace constructive criticism. I don't want to have bad ideas. And I have ideas that I think are good, but I don't know unless I get pushback. So these are some of my ideas. It's a 16-minute rant that I go on just in the car driving back with my wife recording. You can hear her a little bit in it, and cover just different ideas that I have about the world, about the way I see the world, about education, about what we should strive for as individuals and things like that. So this is a little strange for me, but I advocate that my students should be bold and push for expressing themselves. So I'm doing that on here. So I thank you for listening, and I welcome any and all feedback. In a world where many people see reality as a circle or a rectangle, the truth is that issues are cylinders. Rather than a two-dimensional understanding, we will flush out the three-dimension complexities through nuanced conversation and civil, respectable discourse to highlight all perspectives on controversial issues. I'm your host, William Roosh, a high school teacher who's trying to transform education as we know it. Welcome to the anti-echo chamber. This is Cylinder Radio.
Recording.
Oh, okay. A couple of ideas are running through my head. So, Sheila Bella Microblading told me to talk about it. Okay, so here's a couple of things.
Document, don't consume.
Okay.
Don't create. Document, don't create.
The idea that perhaps there aren't limitations in the world the way that we think that there are. So I started putting my lessons and stuff on social media less than 2 years ago, and I was really interested in the ideas of certain individuals that are now reaching out to me, and I'm having conversations with these individuals, several of them, and it's very strange. And it didn't seem strange to them at all. At least one in particular, Eric Weinstein, at all. And part of it is, if you believe that there aren't limitations to the world and to reality the way that you perceive them, then you'll start to see the world and see reality differently, and you can get reality to bend a little bit to what you are trying to get out of it. And this is like, Oprah had that whole thing, like The Secret. Like, if you think about it, you manifest it. Like, so this is not an original idea, but these ideas have holes in them. They have blind spots in them. Like, if you just will a girl to like you, then she'll just like you. And that's not what it is. But you can will yourself into developing a better personality, becoming the best version of yourself, getting in shape, whatever, making money, doing whatever, becoming the kind of person that your dream girl would be attracted to is possible. So it's the mindset that will get you to the end goal. And so you can essentially view the world as limitless and boundless, and you can get anything you want out of the world. Now, does that mean that there aren't certain limitations? Yes, a fish is better off in water than on land. So limitation, you want to seek, this is a Tim Keller thing, the pastor. It's like, you want to seek the liberating limitations. So if you're very small and weak, let's say physically weak, you're not going to be an NFL lineman. So you're wrong. You're wrong. You can't, there are limitations. What do you really want out of being an NFL lineman is the question. Because it's the limitless concept is at the core. There are core limitless parameters to reality. On the edges, there are a ton of limits. You're not going to be able to flap your arms and fly. You're not going to be able to become an NBA player. But why do you want to be an NBA player? And there's something deeply rooted in that. Using my wife as an example, because she is having a convention type thing, a summit for motivational speaking and stuff like that, and sold hundreds of tickets to it her first year out after planning it for less than a year. And manifested that. I think this would be cool, and made it happen. Now, even if that didn't happen, what is she really trying to do is connect with people in the beauty business and motivate them to go live the life that they want to live and make an impact, a positive impact on these young women who in many areas of society are kind of forgotten or not taken seriously. She could do that. She could, if it's not several hundred people in Santa Monica at some big fancy hotel, which it is, it could be at a coffee shop with 3 hairdressers. It's still, the core is what is the same. So if you want to become a basketball player because you want to be recognized by your peers for being, athletic, you might be able to find a different sport. Or if you want to be recognized as being a hard worker, you can find that some way. If you want to be the best surgeon, like, for what? You want to save lives? You can save lives in a bunch of different ways. It might not look the way that you thought it would, but that doesn't mean that you can't still bend the world to get what you want out of it.
And I believe that you can bend the world to get what you want out of it. Eric Weinstein has this concept of the DISC, the disruptive idea complex, suppression complex, the disruptive idea suppression complex. And what that is that when you have a brilliant idea, the best ideas, they're so damaging and threatening to the institutional systems in place that those institutions will fight tooth and nail to suppress the best innovations. So the typewriter companies do not want computers to be invented. We see this over and over and over and over again. William Randolph Hearst, with his paper mills, suppressed hemp, which was much better, and made marijuana illegal, thanks to Harry Anslinger and his stories that he would post these fake stories in his newspapers, and he had control of the media to make marijuana illegal. And marijuana as a plant medicine could save hundreds of thousands of lives. So good ideas are suppressed by this system. And that is one of the things that makes the limits seem real. Because even if you believe that there aren't limits, then you come up with this great idea and you go, I'm going to bend the world to create this great idea. Then what's going to happen is these powerful systems. And I'm not saying this isn't like lizard people. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is real people that just have a 9-to-5 job and managers that want to keep those people employed and want to do their job all the way up. The person at the very top, the CEOs, they have a ton of pressure on their shoulders to keep that money coming in. So they're going to keep certain things quiet that are going to threaten that. And everyone views themselves as the hero of their story. No one's a villain of their story. So they're all good guys trying to do what they think is right. And in that, the best ideas are going to get suppressed. And then we don't advance nearly as much as we should in society. And it's shocking how many brilliant ideas are just waiting out there that we just aren't seeing because we're not thinking outside the box enough. Wheeled luggage was invented in 1989. That's ridiculous. How is that possible? Rolling luggage, yeah. Like people just drag these huge bags around. It doesn't make any sense. Just put wheels on them, and they didn't. And and that happened in 1989. So what else is out there that we can really make better? I mean, who knows? But we have to think without limitations. And creativity is being lost. Creativity is being lost. People aren't bored anymore. And when you're bored, you get creative. But people aren't bored anymore. They're on their phone too much. They're playing games nonstop. They're on social media nonstop. They have constant interaction. They're not bored. And out of boredom comes creativity. And then Chris Rock had a joke that was like bullies created, the personal computer. Because if it was something along the lines of if Bill Gates was getting laid in high school, we would never have Microsoft. He had to be a loser sitting in his bedroom alone to really work hard to create something that's unbelievable. Yeah, so I think if we decide that whatever we want out of our lives, we can get. That can go two ways, right? We can go good or bad, but that's why, understanding morals and our moral capacities and our extreme capability for evil, the Carl Jung idea, the shadow self, the Jordan Peterson stuff like that, is possible. Or you can go, if you're capable of tremendous evil, then you're capable of tremendous good, which is awesome. And once you establish what your morals are and you really work on yourself, then you can do tremendous good. And you can essentially bend the world and create ideas that will change everything in the best ways. And it's really important to look at unintended consequences, at not cutting corners when you're trying to solve problems. Because if you're trying to solve a problem, it could get really, really bad and you didn't see it. We got to think several steps ahead and play the story to the end. I use a metaphor sometimes with my students, which is like my kids are playing on the floor and there's ants and the kids are putting their hands on the floor and the ants are getting on their hands, so I just spray poison on the floor. And then my kids play in the poison, put the poison in their mouth, now my kids are poisoned. So we do that all the time. We think about that stuff with like minimum wage laws. Like, are they good or are they bad? Well, we're going to give more money to people that need it. That's good. Like, is it? Maybe. Let's really flesh out these economics, though. Like, we can't, whenever we're seeing these solutions for, like, immigration or gun laws or something like that, it's like, how are you so confident that you have the solution? Because just meaning well isn't going to solve things. The road to hell is paved in bad intention, and paved in good intentions, sorry. The road to hell is paved in good intentions. Okay, thank you, English teacher. Wife. So, yeah, I think that's what we need to do, is we need to really think our way through these problems. And that's where I get to, that the best ideas are out there. We can improve. Yes, I've read Steven Pinker's book. It was long. And we are better now than ever. America 2020. Better now than ever. But it can be way better. Way better. There is still a lot of unnecessary suffering in the world. And I think that's probably the goal of life, right? To minimize unnecessary suffering. There's always going to be suffering, but you're going to minimize the unnecessary suffering. So the way to do that is going to be complicated, but you can do it. Is there value in that? I hope so. I hope there's value in suffering less. I hope that's something that people will be willing to, when I say pay for, that is work towards, because money is essentially just exchanging your time and effort. That creates money, at least the way it should. And then people will pay in time and effort for a way for you to minimize unnecessary suffering. And this also will hopefully lead to a system where we have a hierarchy in society that is based on competency. So we want the best and brightest at the top. We don't want handouts, and that could go from poor to poor people to rich people. That's corporate welfare. There's a lot of things. There are dangers to handouts that could lead to anything other than the best and brightest, most equipped people in every position. And I also think the brilliant thing about this is not something that is off limits to any population. I don't think that this is off limits to according to gender or sexuality or race or anything like that. That's what's so cool, is the truth, the way I see it, is that brilliance and the best ideas can come from anywhere. From anywhere. There are brilliant trans, Muslim, black people with one leg. I'm sure that's what's so cool, because it's not just about horsepower brains. Like, it's not about IQ. That's one way that you can create amazing solutions. But, I mean, I don't know. Was the guy who put rollers on luggage, was he the highest or she the highest IQ? I don't know that to be true. So there's a lot of ways that people can make massive positive impacts. And if you look at the wealth distribution of people who are like quote unquote self-made millionaires, people who started from the bottom, now they're here. Jared Drake, like, it's not people who fit one category of whatever cisgender straight white male Protestant, wealthy. It's not. That's what's so cool. The new successful people come from a whole wide array of things. But it also probably comes from I bet what it does do, I bet there's a disproportionate amount of people who have this mindset privilege that I talk about, which is the people who have created success for themselves, wealth, or innovated, did something really valuable to society. I bet they believe that they could. And I bet that there's a problem when in society we say certain groups are unable to win in this world. I don't believe that to be true. I think there are tremendous hurdles up against individuals for a bunch of different reasons. but that's not a wall. It's a hurdle. And sometimes hurdles build big legs. And I'm so fortunate to have a friend in Sydney Smith who does not have feet. He has nothing below his knees, really. And he is just out there not making excuses, just working because he has that mindset. And I just think that could apply to all of us. Like, I am going to get what I want out of this world, and I will will it into existence. And that is the way we should structure the educational system. How dare we have any focused core of the educational system other than you can do absolutely anything that you want to do? A, what do you want to do and why? B, and then let's get you the tools that you need to create massive amounts of good in the world. Like, that should be the educational system, right? So I think that was I guess a decent rant. What do you think, wife? I'm a little exhausted. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go eat.
This has been Cylinder Radio. The success of this podcast and the educational revolution that I hope you will be a part of is dependent on those who find value in it. Please take a few moments to review us on iTunes so the show is more easily found. If there was a perspective on today's topic that was not highlighted in this episode, or you have an idea for an episode topic that you want to understand more deeply, please email us at cylinderradio@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at Will Roosh, WILLREUSCH. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to the next one. Quick disclaimer for those of you that stayed till the end. It wasn't rolling luggage that was invented in 1989. It was actually 1987. It was the rollerboard. It was the carry-on roller. The rolling luggage was 1972. But you get the point. That's still pretty late. I know this was a little unusual of a podcast, but I appreciate you listening. Thank you for your support.